You've been lied to since you stepped into your first classroom. The system didn't educate you. It tamed you to be a functional gear in a machine that isn't yours. They trained you for one thing: blind obedience. They taught you to memorize dates of forgotten battles and calculate hypotenuses you will never use. Most gravely, they taught you to stay still and wait for the sound of a bell to move, eat, or rest. They castrated your initiative to turn you into an adult who asks permission to prosper, who waits for the government to solve their life, and who seeks validation in a grade on a paper. They didn't teach you to be a king. They trained you to be a docile subject, a predictable consumer, and a tired worker. But 3,000 years ago, a man broke the matrix of his time with a force that still shakes power structures today. Solomon was not just a biblical monarch. He was a brilliant strategist. He was the richest man to ever walk the earth. According to modern economists, his fortune today would exceed $2 trillion, richer than Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and all the Silicon Valley tycoons combined. However, his wealth was not a stroke of luck or a passive blessing from heaven. It was the result of a superior mental software he installed in his brain, a code of universal laws, cold and exact, which today we are going to dust off and execute in your own consciousness. Welcome to the Solomon Code. What you are about to hear is not cheap self-help or a motivational talk for the mediocre. This is a power engineering manual and a roadmap to absolute sovereignty. If you've felt the world is a prison of effort and need, it's because you've operated with the system installed by control, lead, complaint, and dependence. But today, that software is uninstalled forever. We are here to reclaim your crown. Solomon taught us that wealth is not something pursued with desperate sweat, but something that gravitates toward a specific center of gravity: wisdom. Money is docile energy seeking the master who knows how to command it. The system wants you busy, stressed, and in debt so you have no time to think like a sovereign. Solomon wants you awake, cold, and strategic, because a man who masters his mind, masters his market, and, eventually, masters his destiny. Through these 10 dynastic laws, we will travel from the death of the slave self to the construction of an empire that outlives your own flesh. You will learn why your words have been your jailers and how to turn them into your architects. You will discover why discipline is the only real freedom and how to raise walls of silence so the world's envy doesn't tarnish your gold. This knowledge is dense, ancient, and for the system's architects, it is forbidden. A man who does not depend on others' approval, who does not fear the economy, and who knows how to generate abundance from the vacuum of his own mind, is a man impossible to control. Prepare yourself. From this second, you cease to be compatible with average life. Your tolerance for mediocrity is going to vanish. We are not here to survive. We are here to reign. Solomon does not give advice. Solomon issues decrees. And the first decree is that your time as a subject is over. The throne of your life has been empty far too long, and today the king returns home. Chapter 1. The Throne of Identity. You have been lied to since the moment you entered your first classroom. The system did not educate you. It domesticated you. To understand why you feel stuck today, why money seems to flee from your hands, or why you feel like you are asking permission to exist, you must understand the engineering of the environment that shaped you. Modern schools were not designed by sages to release human potential. They were designed by 19th century industrialists and statists to create docile gears. They taught you to memorize dates of forgotten battles, to calculate hypotenuses of triangles you will never use, and most gravely, they taught you to stay still and obey the bell. The school bell is the direct ancestor of the factory time clock. They trained you for only one thing: blind obedience. They castrated your own initiative to turn you into an adult who seeks validation in a grade on a paper, who waits for a superior to tell him what is correct, and who fears making mistakes because error is punished. That is the subject psychology. The result is an adult who, despite having talent, lives waiting for the government, his boss, or luck to give him permission to prosper. Solomon, the man who accumulated more gold than any modern tycoon, knew that wealth is not a stack of bills, but a mental posture. The first step of the Solomon Code is to recover your sovereignty. Stop being a gear and reclaim your throne. School created subjects. Solomon creates kings. 3,000 years ago, Solomon did not just rule a nation. He managed an economic empire that, adjusted for inflation, would exceed $2 trillion. Richer than Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos combined, his fortune was not a product of chance or passive inheritance. It was the result of a command software that he installed in his own brain. While the modern world tells you to work hard, the slave ethic, Solomon tells you in Proverbs to seek wisdom, bina, and understanding, tabuna. For the king, knowledge is the hardware, but identity is the operating system. If you have powerful hardware but a slave operating system, the system will collapse in the face of abundance. That is why many win the lottery and are poor again in 2 years. Their bank account grew, but their identity was still sitting at the school desk. Solomon understood that the universe is a system of vibratory hierarchies. At the peak is not the one who exerts the most physical effort, but the one who possesses the command identity. The subject works for money, money works for the king. But for money to obey you, you must first convince your own mind of your right to command. The throne of identity is the place where you decide once and for all that you are no longer a spectator of the economy, but its architect. To awaken the sleeping king, we must perform an autopsy on your current mentality. The control system has implanted 3 viruses in you that keep your throne empty. The virus of external validation. The subject needs someone to tell him he is doing well. He seeks the applause of the boss, the approval of the family, or likes on social media. The king, instead, validates himself. His compass is internal. Solomon did not ask neighboring nations if it seemed okay to build the temple. He dictated. The virus of external blame. The slave blames inflation, the government, his parents, or bad luck. By blaming the external, he hands over his power. If the problem is outside, the solution is too, and the slave sits waiting for a miracle. The king assumes absolute responsibility. If there is scarcity, the king looks in the mirror. The virus of permissive procrastination. The subject says, "Someday I will be rich," or, "When the economy improves, I will start a business." He is waiting for an external signal that will never arrive. The king knows that time is his most precious asset, and that command is exercised in the now. Solomon created his own signal. For the king to be born, the good student must die. That character who seeks for everyone to be happy with him, who fears standing out too much so as not to discomfort the mediocre, and who follows the rules even when they are designed to suffocate him. In the world of high strategy, good conduct is the guarantee of a gray life. Solomon says in Proverbs 29:25, "The fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe." The snare is the trap of others' opinions. When you worry about what they think of you, you are handing over the keys of your treasury to strangers. A king is by definition someone who walks above the masses. Mediocrity is a contagious disease rewarded in the society of subjects with security and stability. But security is the cage of the soul. The king does not seek security, he seeks dominion. He does not seek a salary, he seeks empires. Awakening occurs when you decide your kingdom will be as large as your vision can encompass. In the Hebrew metaphysics that Solomon mastered, language is not descriptive, but prescriptive. The subject uses the tongue to describe his misery. "I have no money. Things are hard. I am a disaster for business." Every time the subject speaks, he is reinforcing the bars of his cell. He is using his power to solidify his slavery. The king, on the contrary, uses the tongue to decree. The decree is an order that matter is obliged to obey. Solomon teaches that death and life are in the power of the tongue. If your identity is that of a king, your words must have the weight of precious metal. You do not speak of what you see. You speak of what you have ordered. When the sleeping king awakens, his vocabulary changes drastically. He no longer says, "I'm going to try." He says, "It is done." He no longer says, "God willing," as an excuse for inaction. He says, "I will it," and the universe conspires. He no longer says, "I am poor." He says, "My opulence is densifying in matter." Your identity filters through your verbs. If you speak like a slave, the universe will treat you like one. If you speak with the authority of Solomon, Resources will begin to gravitate toward you to see who it is that dares to give orders with such certainty. If there is disorder in your life, it is because your throne of identity is empty. Reclaiming the throne is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of spiritual justice. You are created in the image and likeness of the Creator, which means you have the spark of creation in your will. Living as a subject is an insult to your original design. Solomon was special for his ability to recognize his place in the hierarchy. From today, obedience to the bell has ended. You no longer work for hours. You work for legacy. You no longer ask permission. You notify decisions. The awakening of the king is the moment you stand up, shake the dust of mediocrity from your shoulders, and walk to the center of your own reality to sit in the place that belongs to you. Repeat with me with the coldness and strength of a monarch who has just recovered his crown. I am not a product of my circumstances. I am the architect of my destiny. I renounce external validation and the fear of error. I kill the docile slave and awaken the sovereign king. My reign begins now. Solomon reminded me I was born to be king. For the king to sit on the throne, the corpse of the slave must be removed. You cannot build an empire on a base of parasitic thoughts. The control system installed mental police who patrol your consciousness. These parasites disguise themselves as prudence, humility, or realism, but their only function is to sabotage expansion. The first parasite is the fear of the group's judgment. In the tribe of slaves, standing out is dangerous. If you start talking about empires, other slaves will try to bite your heels. Solomon knew it. The mediocre hates excellence. A king does not ask permission from peasants to build a palace. If you care what they think, your crown is cardboard. The system programmed you to operate from need, the lowest frequency. Need says, I have to pay the bills. I need this job. When you operate from need, you emit a signal of lack. Solomon operated from conscious opulence. He did not need the gold of Ophir. He summoned it because his identity was compatible with gold. To uninstall the software of need, you must practice sovereign detachment. This means performing your work with extreme excellence but without the anxiety of the result. The king knows the result is inevitable. If you act with desperation for money, money will flee from you. Money is a servant that seeks a serene master. One of the most effective tools of the system has been the distortion of the concept of humility. They taught you that being poor is being good. This is a trap designed so that lions feel guilty for having claws. True humility, according to Solomon, is obedience to universal truth, not self-imposed smallness. The king does not apologize for his brilliance. The sun does not ask permission to rise. Identity purge implies uprooting the idea that scarcity makes you holy. Scarcity makes you reactive. Wealth makes you free. The throne requires you to embrace your desire for greatness without asking for forgiveness. Magnificence is your natural state. Once you have purged the parasites, the space must be filled with the protocol of authority. Reconstruction begins with the mastery of the body and space. A king does not walk hunched over. Your physiology dictates your brain chemistry. If you move like a man who owns the world, your brain will produce the neurotransmitters of command. The second step is the decree of boundaries. A king decides who enters his kingdom. This applies to the people you let into your life and the thoughts you let into your head. If you allow mediocre people to consume your time, you are devaluing your crown. You are the sentinel of your own vibration. Solomon knew that the physical world is just a shadow of identity. If you manage to convince your subconscious that you are a sovereign, reality will have no choice but to reflect that fact. Opportunities are not things you find. They are projections of your internal state. The market is a blind mechanism that responds to authority. Do not wait to have gold to feel like a king. Feel like a king until the gold has no other option but to appear to pay tribute to your majesty. You have finished the initiation. You have purged need, the fear of judgment, and false humility. Now, the throne is ready. A throne is maintained by the daily exercise of command. Chapter 2. The Tongue of Fire. You have awakened the king. You have sat on the throne of your identity and understood that the system wanted you docile, silent, and obedient. But a king without a voice is a marble statue. A sovereign who does not know how to issue decrees is a luxury prisoner. In the pinnacle of his wisdom, he left behind an axiom. In Proverbs 18:21, the king sentences, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof." Note the surgical precision of Solomon's language. He did not say that the tongue can cause joy or sadness, or success or failure. He used the absolute terms of existence, death and life. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is a description of the quantum physics of the word. Your tongue is not a microphone that simply comments on what happens in the world. Your tongue is a reality projector. Every time you emit a sound, you are launching a frequency into the quantum field that has the order to densify into matter. The system taught you to use your tongue as a suicidal weapon, commenting on your misery as if you were a news reporter for your own misfortune. Solomon demands that you stop being a chronicler of what is, to become the architect of what will be. The error of the reporter is the trap of description. Most people spend their lives operating under the reporter effect. They wake up, look at their zero bank balance and say, "I have no money." They look at their tired body and say, "I am exhausted." They believe they are simply telling the truth. They believe that being realistic is a virtue. Solomon would tell you that this realism is the signature of your financial and spiritual death sentence. When you describe your lack, you are signing a renewal contract with that lack. You are telling the universe, "This is what I see, therefore, this is what I want to keep seeing." The reporter is caught in a loop. The king understands that physical reality is the residue of past thoughts and words. What you see today is yesterday manifested. Therefore, commenting on the present is like trying to drive a carriage looking only backwards. The decreer, on the contrary, ignores the temporal evidence of the senses if it does not match his vision. The king does not describe the storm. He orders the sun to appear. Your mouth must not be a mirror of the world. It must be the architect's blueprint. To understand the tongue of fire, we must understand what a word is. A word is an idea that has received enough pressure of will to be expelled into the physical world through sound. Sound is vibration. Vibration is energy. And energy, according to all laws of thermodynamics and metaphysics, is the mother of matter. When Solomon built the temple, he did not move the stones with his hands. He moved the stones with his command. He issued orders. The royal decree is the chisel that strikes the rough stone. If your chisel, your tongue, is soft, erratic, and full of doubt, your reality will be a deformed mass of mediocre circumstances. If your tongue is of fire, firm, directional, and charged with authority, matter will have no choice but to yield to your will. Your future is obliged to fulfill the contracts you sign with your mouth. If you say, "I will never be able to pay this," you have just signed an insolvency contract that the universe will execute with mathematical precision. If you say, "I am a magnet for high-value opportunities," you have issued a decree of attraction. The universe is a legalistic servant. It does not judge, it simply processes. The control system uses suggestion so that you impose your own limits. They suggest there is a crisis. They suggest you are too young or too old. They suggest success is for others. The subject accepts the suggestion. The king, on the contrary, operates through decree. The difference between a suggestion and a decree is authority. When the king speaks, he does not suggest that the gold arrive. He orders the trade routes to open. In your personal life, this means you must stop using a language of desire and start using a language of possession. The subject says, "I would like to be rich." The king says, "I am the distribution center of opulence." The tongue of fire does not ask permission. It does not use conditionals. It does not say could, would like, or maybe. Fire burns what it touches. The decree transforms what it names. Solomon teaches us that the wise man keepeth his mouth and his tongue, keepeth his soul from troubles. Keeping the mouth does not mean just being silent. It means being the sentinel of every decree that you allow to leave your lips. Every phrase that begins with "I am" is the start of a creation or a destruction. One of the most subtle poisons inoculated by the system is self-deprecating sarcasm. People think it is funny or humble to make jokes about their own poverty or bad luck. Solomon would look at you with severity and say, "Fool." The subconscious has no sense of humor. It does not understand irony. For your internal command center, every joke about your scarcity is a direct design instruction. Sarcasm is a form of self-curse disguised as social wit. A king never speaks ill of himself, not even in jest. His tongue is sacred. His name is a mark of power. Similarly, false humility is a sin against wisdom. Negating your gifts does not make you good. It makes you a liar before the potential that God put in you. Solomon wore purple and gold because his tongue decreed magnificence. If you want the world to treat you like gold, stop talking about yourself as if you were tin. To activate the tongue of fire, we must first put out the fire of lead. Most humans have a chemical addiction to complaining. Complaining generates a cortisol release that creates a false sense of communion with other mediocre people. It is the victim's club. The first protocol is the 7-day negativity fast. For 1 week, you are forbidden from complaining about any circumstance, criticizing others, or describing your current situation if it is lack. If you break the fast, the counter returns to 0. The objective of this exercise is not to be positive, but to reclaim command. It is forcing your tongue to submit to your will. You will notice that you will stay silent most of the time. That silence is the creative vacuum where the king begins to forge his new voice. Only when you master the impulse to be a reporter of chaos will you be ready to be the decreer of order. You have understood today that your mouth is not an organ of opinion, but a tool of royal prescription. Your future is not something that happens to you. It is something you are invoking right now with the words you use. The universe is a great legal auditor listening to each of your phrases to turn them into binding contracts. Solomon left us the warning. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth. If you want to eat delicacies, stop sowing thorns with your conversation. If you want to reign, start speaking the dialect of kings. Start speaking the language of certainty, possession, and absolute authority. From today, your tongue is no longer flesh, it is fire. And that fire is going to burn your old leaden reality to illuminate your new golden empire. The laboratory of the word, from vibration to substance. It is not enough to stop complaining. The sovereign must learn the technique of precipitation. Solomon did not only avoid foolishness, he summoned wisdom and wealth with a precision that bordered on the mathematical. For the Solomon Code, the word is not air, it is mass in a radiant state. Everything you see around you, your house, your clothes, the device you use to listen to this, was first an idea and then a word. Someone said, "Let's do this." Sound is the bridge that transports the idea from the invisible plane of thought to the dense plane of matter. If your words are weak, your reality will be gaseous and unstable. If your words are decrees of gold, your reality will solidify into structures of power and abundance. The anatomy of the decree of precipitation. A royal decree is not a cheap self-help affirmation. An affirmation is a plea disguised as a desire. A decree is a dictated law. For your tongue of fire to precipitate resources, your decrees must comply with 3 laws of metaphysical engineering. The law of the present time, the eternal now. The subconscious, that giant servant that Solomon called the heart, does not understand the future. If you say, "I will be rich," you are decreeing that wealth stay away. You are decreeing that wealth always be a day away in a tomorrow that never arrives. The king says, "I am opulence manifesting here and now." The decree must be issued as a reality already consummated in the spirit, the law of unappealable authority. A decree admits no doubt. If you doubt while speaking, you have canceled the order. Solomon taught that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Your voice must have the weight of metal. You do not hope that money arrives. You order the distribution channels to open to serve you. The vibration of certainty is what magnetizes matter. The law of domain specification. The universe loves clarity. Do not ask for more money. Ask for increasing flows of sovereign capital. Do not ask for a better job. Decree the position of command that corresponds to my level of wisdom. The king defines the borders of his conquest with exact words. Vagueness is the language of the subject. Precision is the dialect of the monarch. The programming protocols of water and air. Solomon knew secrets of nature that science is only now beginning to rediscover. Sound affects the molecular structure of everything it touches. Your body is mostly water, and water is the most sensitive information receiver on the planet. Every time you speak ill of yourself, you are poisoning the water of your own cells. You are programming your biology for failure. The tongue of fire is used to bless, well, speak your own structure. The sovereign performs the morning protocol. Before the leaden world tries to program you with its news and crises, you program your own matter. Upon drinking water, upon breathing the morning air, you issue the decree. This substance becomes command energy in my veins. My body is the temple of unbreakable health, and my mind is the antenna of infinite wealth. You are charging your biological battery with the frequency of gold before going out to battle. A common error of the fool is to speak too much of his plans. Solomon constantly warns about the danger of a multitude of words. In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. In the alchemy of power, silence is the pressure chamber. When you tell your great wealth projects to mediocre people, the energy of the decree is dispersed. The steam escapes and the pressure necessary for precipitation disappears. Furthermore, the gossip and envy of the fool act as interference in your projector. The sovereign keeps the secret of his transmutation. He speaks with the universe, speaks with his trusted partners, but maintains a wall of silence before the masses. Your success must be seen, but your process must be invisible. The tongue of fire is kept hot on the inside. It is not wasted heating the air of fools. What if an investment fails or a partner betrays? The subject reacts with the tongue. Everything goes wrong for me. I was scammed. It's the end. In doing so, the subject solidifies the loss. The possessor of the Solomon Code practices royal redefinition. In the face of apparent chaos, the king issues the decree of reorientation. This is not a loss, it is a necessary pruning for greater growth. I bless this situation because I extract from it the seed of an equivalent or superior benefit. My empire is invulnerable to external fluctuations. By changing the label of the event, you change its energetic polarity. You use your tongue to force the disaster to become an opportunity. You dictate the meaning, and reality, like a faithful servant, ends up adjusting to your narrative. You have learned today that your tongue is the remote control of the physical matrix. Each word emitted is a brick placed in the building of your destiny. You can no longer afford the luxury of being a casual talker. From this moment on, you assume the covenant of the sovereign word. Your mouth is now the treasury of your kingdom. From it will only come the gold of certainty, the silver of intelligence, and the bronze of discipline. Do not sign contracts of poverty with your lips. Do not condemn your future with your judgments. You are the decreer. You are the projector. You are the architect. The universe is listening, pen in hand, waiting for you to dictate the law. Chapter 3: The Algorithm of the Ant. You have awakened the king. You have understood that your identity is the throne, and your tongue is the projector of your empire. But a king who only has identity and decrees but lacks execution is a king made of paper. In Chapter 3, we enter the laboratory of physical action, where the Solomon Code collides with the employee mentality. The educational and corporate system has implanted an invisible parasite in you, the need to be supervised. They taught you that to be productive you need an imposed schedule, a boss to watch you, and a human resources department to motivate you. They turned you into a circus animal that only performs when it sees the whip. That is the psychology of the gear. Solomon, observing nature with the eyes of a metaphysical engineer, gives us in Proverbs 6:6-8 the definitive algorithm for financial freedom. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. Note Solomon's slap. The secret of wealth is not in palaces, but on the ground. The secret is to operate without a captain, governor, or lord. If you need a boss to be productive, you already have an owner. Your freedom begins the day you kill the employee living in your brain. Most people call themselves free because they can choose which brand of coffee to buy, but they are slaves to external instruction. The employee waits to be told what to do. The sovereign detects what needs to be done and executes it. The ant does not wait for an internal memo from the queen to go out and look for grain. The ant is programmed for radical self-management. In the new economy of 2026, where artificial intelligence and automation are devouring jobs that require following instructions, the ant's algorithm is your only life insurance. Robots are the best employees because they do not tire and they obey perfectly. If your market value depends on someone giving you an order and you fulfilling it, you are officially obsolete. The market will only reward the architects of initiative with gold. The ant's algorithm is the ability to see the vacuum and fill it, to see the problem and solve it before anyone realizes it even exists. The sovereign does not have schedules, he has missions. He does not have tasks, he has results. The ant works in the summer because she knows that winter is a physical law, not a suggestion. The employee works from 9 to 5 because that is what his contract says. One operates by vision, the other operates by fear of being fired. Solomon does not call the person lying on a sofa doing nothing lazy. That is too obvious. The most dangerous lazy person is the one busy with nothing. It is the one who goes to the office and spends 3 hours answering irrelevant emails or organizing folders. He is moving, but he is not carrying any grain. Laziness, according to the Solomon Code, is the lack of creative tension. It is the desire for life to be easy, for someone else to make the difficult decisions, and for the reward to arrive without the weight of responsibility. The sluggard hideth his hand in his bosom. It grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. He has the opportunity in front of him, he has the knowledge, he has the internet, but he lacks the closing initiative. Killing the employee means stopping measuring your value by how much time you worked, and starting to measure it by how much value you precipitated. The king does not count hours, he counts grains in the barn. If you can do in 2 hours what takes an employee 8, the rest of the time belongs to you to expand your empire. The employee feels guilty if he finishes early. The king celebrates his efficiency and looks for the next territory to conquer. To install the ant's algorithm, you must activate 3 internal command protocols. The morning audit, the internal captain. Before the world tells you what to do, you dictate your order of battle. You do not check notifications. You issue instructions. What is the heaviest grain I must carry today? The sovereign is his own most demanding supervisor. If you treat yourself softly, the world will treat you harshly. The law of the season, the governor of vision. The ant prepares in the summer because she looks at the future. The employee lives in Friday afternoon. Radical self-management is working today for the you of 5 years from now. Does this grain feed my future empire or only calm my hunger for today? The non-negotiable closing, the lord of result. The ant does not leave the leaf halfway. Many start projects, books, or businesses and abandon them when friction appears. The employee says, I did what I could. The sovereign says, it is finished. Wealth is not in the beginning, it is in the closing. Many fear AI because they think like employees. They fear their jobs will be taken. The possessor of the Solomon Code looks at AI like the ant looks at a new route to sugar. Technology is the force multiplier. If you are a sovereign, AI is your legion of digital slaves. You are a one-man company with the firepower of a corporation. But here's the secret. AI has no initiative. It has no winter hunger. It remains a gear. You are the architect of instruction, prompt engineering. By integrating the ant's algorithm with the tools of the future, you become a mass production unit. Solomon mocks the sluggard who says, there is a lion without, I shall be slain. The employee always has a noble excuse for his inaction. The economy is bad, I have no contacts, the algorithm changed. For the ant, the obstacle is part of the landscape. If there is a lion, the ant looks for a way to go under, over, or around. But the grain reaches the anthill. Radical self-management is the death of the excuse. The sovereign assumes the world is hostile, and conditions will never be perfect. Waiting for the sun to shine to work is the guarantee of starving in the winter. The king creates his own weather. You have killed the employee who waited for instructions, and awakened the ant who dictates her own productivity. External supervision is a form of spiritual castration. From this moment on, you assume total command over your hours and your results. Do not look for owners. Do not look for guides to lead you by the hand. Look at the grain, look at the coming winter, and start carrying. The gold flows where there is pure initiative. The vault of time, from schedule to command block. Freedom without structure is the fastest road to ruin. The sovereign does not have schedules, because the schedule is an invention of the industrial era to synchronize gears. The sovereign has command blocks. Solomon, in his immense organizational capacity, did not leave the fate of his empire to the chance of inspiration. He understood that the ant is not distracted. The ant does not stop to see what the neighbor is doing, nor wastes time on anthill gossip. The ant is in a state of hyper-specific focus. For the Solomon Code, time is not something that passes, it is the raw material that is transmuted into gold. If you allow your time to fragment into small distractions, notifications, emails, social interruptions, you are allowing strangers to steal the treasure of your crown. The protocol of power blocks consists of dividing your day into periods of radical isolation. During these blocks, you are not a social being, a parent, or a friend. You are a reality processor. If the ant is carrying grain, nothing in the universe diverts her from her route. Your capacity to generate wealth is directly proportional to the amount of minutes you can keep your mind fixed on a single high-value task without breaking the seal of silence. The system has made you believe that procrastination is a problem of lack of desire. Solomon would tell you it is a problem of lack of hierarchy. The sluggard says, "Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep." Proverbs 6:10. Note the "a little." The slave does not decide to be a failure all at once. He decides to be one a minute at a time. Radical self-management utilizes the law of inertia. The ant knows that the hardest part is moving the grain the first centimeter. Once the grain is in motion, physics works in its favor. The sovereign does not wait to feel like it. Feeling is the language of the subject. He initiates action. He initiates the action by decree. To defeat procrastination, we apply Solomon's 5-second rule. The moment you detect the heavy grain task, you have 5 seconds to initiate physical movement before the employee parasite starts manufacturing excuses. If you do not move, the lion in the path will appear in your mind and paralyze you. The ant does not think. The ant executes. Wealth loves speed. Poverty loves analysis paralysis. The employee confuses being busy with progressing. He can spend 10 hours cleaning his desk, answering messages, and attending useless meetings. Solomon classifies this as vanity. The ant algorithm distinguishes between two activities. Maintenance activities, cleaning the anthill, organizing papers, paying bills. They are necessary, but they do not create an empire. Grain-carrying activities, creating the product, closing the sale, designing the strategy, learning the high-value skill. These are the only ones that fill the barn for the winter. The sovereign dedicates his power blocks exclusively to carrying grain. Maintenance is delegated, automated with AI, or performed in moments of low energy. The error of the fool is spending his best morning energy on maintenance tasks. The king attacks the hardest thing when his fire is at its highest. If you have not carried grain before noon, you have wasted your rain that day. The invisibility of the gold worker, the secret of the ant. Have you ever seen an ant brag about its load? The ant moves in silence, protected by the brush, focused on its objective. The modern system urges the opposite, to publish every step. It urges you to seek the like before finishing the task, to validate your effort before the eyes of others. The Solomon Code demands productive invisibility. Excess exposure drains the energy of execution. When you tell what you are going to do, your brain receives a dopamine hit that makes it believe it already achieved it. Then the ant's hunger disappears. The sovereign works in the shadows. Let the world see the full barn, but let it never see the sweat of the load. Your privacy is the wall that protects your productivity. In the silence of the laboratory, lead turns into gold. Under the gaze of fools, gold evaporates. Gold. The employee lives as if summer were eternal. He spends what he earns, takes on debts, and trusts that his health and job will be there tomorrow. The ant knows that winter is non-negotiable. Radical self-management means you work today with an urgency that others do not understand. People will tell you, relax, enjoy life, don't be so intense. Those are the grasshoppers who sing in summer and beg in winter. The sovereign does not seek the life balance of the middle class. He seeks the security of the empire. Carrying grain is not an act of greed. It is an act of dynastic love. You work harder than others now so that when the storm arrives, economic crisis, illness, old age, your family is protected in a vault of gold. The ant is free in winter because she was a slave to her purpose in summer. The employee is free in summer and a slave to necessity in winter. Choose your season of command. From today, your success metric is simple. How much grain entered the vault today? Do not tell me about your intentions. Do not tell me about your dreams. Show me the barn inventory. The ant gives no explanations. She gives results. You have recovered sovereignty over your hands and time. The world is a field full of grains waiting to be claimed by those who do not need anyone to give them an order to start carrying. Chapter 4. The Wall of the Three Filters. You have awakened the king. You have tuned your tongue of fire so that every word is a decree of power. You have installed the ant algorithm so that your execution is relentless and you do not depend on external supervisors. You have the throne, the projector, and the engine, but there is a danger that has toppled more empires than wars. It has toppled more than devaluations or plagues, the infiltration of fools. The control system has programmed you to be a nice person, to be inclusive, to not forget your roots, and to be loyal to people who long ago ceased to be compatible with your destiny. They made you believe friendship is a lifetime contract of mutual tolerance. You were taught tolerance toward mediocrity. But Solomon, the monarch who managed the most potent influence networks of the ancient world, gives us an immutable law of social physics in Proverbs 13:20. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Note that Solomon does not say you might. He does not say you could have problems. He says you will be destroyed. In Hebrew, the word implies being broken into pieces, being totally ruined. It doesn't matter how much will you have. If your walls are open to the frequency of the fool, their vibration will eventually break your structure. This is the engineering of exclusivity. It is time to raise the wall of the three filters. Your mind is not an isolated system. It is an open system that constantly exchanges information and frequency with its environment. Modern science calls them mirror neurons. We are biologically designed to imitate the behavior, language, and ambition of the 5 people we spend time with. If you hang out with 5 people who complain about the government, you will be the 6th complainer. If you hang out with 5 people who spend what they don't have on mediocre luxuries, you will be the 6th broke person. If you hang out with 5 people who think earning $10,000 a month is impossible, your brain accepts it. Your brain will accept that limit as a physical law. The fool does not need to convince you of anything. He only needs you to be near. His frequency of scarcity and fear filters into your subconscious by osmosis. Solomon understood that wisdom is contagious, but foolishness is infectious. One rotten apple does not become healthy by being near. The rotten apple rots all the others. Your social circle is not just people you hang out with. It is the chemical laboratory where your future is cooked. If the air in that laboratory is contaminated with the smoke of doubt and envy, the gold you are trying to transmute will turn into black lead. To raise the wall, identify the enemy. In the Solomon Code, the fool is not someone with a low IQ. There are fools with doctorates and fools who speak 3 languages. The fool is he who does not respect the cause-effect relationship. He is the one who wants kingly results with slave habits. The fool has 3 unmistakable traits that make him a biological danger to your empire. The addiction to drama. The fool always has a crisis, is always a victim of someone, always has an urgency that requires your attention. He uses your energy to feed his chaos. The immunity to wisdom. You can give him the best advice, but he will not change. He prefers his known error to the truth that forces him to transform. The eye of the envious. Although he claims to be your friend, the fool feels threatened by your glow. Your progress reminds him of his own inaction. Therefore, his advice is always loaded with paralyzing caution. Be careful, don't risk so much, better stay where you are. Keeping a fool in your court out of pity is high treason. It is treason toward your own legacy. The king is not a social worker for adults who refuse to grow up. The king is an architect of excellence, and his first duty is to protect the purity of his environment. To clean your territory, pass every person in your life through the 3 filters of sovereignty. If they don't pass, they stay out. They stay at the outer ring of the market, where they only have access to your courtesy, but never to your intimacy or your time. The filter of frequency. Listen to their words for 1 hour. Are there decrees of power or reports of misery? If their mouth is a constant fountain of complaints and gossip, they are infected. Their virus will enter. The filter of fruit. Solomon said, "By their fruits ye shall know them." Do not listen to what they say they are going to do. Look at what they have. Look at their peace of mind, their relationships, and their discipline. If someone who has built nothing tries to give you advice on building an empire, it is noise you must turn off. The king only listens to those with scars of victory. The filter of tension. There are sails and anchors. A sail catches the wind of your vision and helps you move faster. An anchor reminds you of past errors and asks you to slow down so they don't feel left behind. If being with someone leaves you exhausted, they are a frequency vampire. The king surrounds himself with irons that sharpen him, not pillows that put him to sleep. The greatest obstacle to social purging is the feeling of guilt. The system tells you, how are you going to stop talking to him? You've known each other since childhood, but Solomon asks you, who were you as a child and who are you today? Loyalty to people who no longer vibrate at your frequency is not nobility. It is an anchor to failure. You have decided to transmute your lead into gold. If your friends from the past have decided to remain lead, their presence will act as an electrical resistance that will burn your motor. You cannot take everyone to the top. The top is narrow and requires a light weight. Expelling someone from your inner circle does not mean hating them. It means recognizing that your paths have diverged. Wish them the best. Be kind in the market, but deny access to your throne room. Your time is the purest gold you possess. Giving it away is a sin against your crown. When you raise the wall and perform the purge, there will be a period of sovereign solitude. Your old friends will call you arrogant or say you have changed. Accept it with pride. Yes, you have changed. You have become incompatible with mediocrity. This isolation is not a punishment. It is a requirement of the law of Sheva. The Queen of Sheba did not travel thousands of miles to see a king who hung out with drunks and gossips in the tavern. She traveled to see a man who inhabited a palace of order, silence, and wisdom. High-level mentors and power partners are extremely selective. They do not enter noisy or contaminated environments. Only when the vacuum left by fools is total does your frequency become pure enough to attract the giants. Solitude is the price of initiation. In the silence of your wall, you will begin to emit a signal that only other kings can detect. Strategic isolation is the magnet that will bring the iron alliances toward you. The wall of the 3 filters is not to exclude people out of hate, but to protect transmutation out of love for your purpose. You are the sentinel of your own vibration. From this moment on, you assume the discipline of exclusivity. Do not give your attention to those who have not earned the right. Your wall is up. Your reign is protected. The throne's vacuum, enduring the solitude of transmutation. The frequential vacuum. Most aspirants to the great work fail at this exact point. By closing the doors to their old social circle, by stopping attendance at meetings where gossip is traded for acceptance, they feel a terrifying existential chill. The control system designed humans to fear isolation more than death itself. Solomon, in his immense wealth, was a deeply selective man. He knew that the empty space you leave by expelling mediocrity is not a loss. It is a suction chamber. The physics of influence dictates that the universe abhors a vacuum. If you keep your walls clean and your throne room clear, your purpose will emit a high-fidelity signal. But before the wise arrive, you must prove you can reign in solitude. Strategic isolation is the crucible where your fire turns white. Without the interference of anchors constantly reminding you of who you were, you can finally consolidate who you are now. This is the period of the invisibility of gold. No one sees or applauds you. In that silence, your power density is increasing. The king does not seek company to fill emotional voids. The king seeks allies to expand his empire. If you cannot endure your own presence in silence, you are not ready for the table of giants. Strategic isolation is the magnet that will eventually bring iron alliances to your door. The law of Sheva, attracting the wise through magnificence. How do we move from isolation to iron alliances? The answer lies in the story of the Queen of Sheba, Sheva. She did not visit Solomon because he placed ads or sought validation in the streets. She traveled from the ends of the earth because the fame of his wisdom reached her ears. You attract mentors by becoming a center of excellence. The high-level sage ignores the one begging for favors or learning coffees, but is irresistibly attracted to the one building with mastery and silence. If you want the kings of the market or industry to notice you, stop being a fan and start being an elite player. Iron alliances are based on the reciprocity of value. In Solomon's court, no one arrived empty-handed. Sheba brought camels loaded with precious gifts. Solomon gave her access to the secrets of his administration. The fool tries to extract value from powerful people, offering only admiration. Admiration is cheap. Useful service or sharp intelligence is expensive. To enter a superior wall, you must become the solution to one of that king's problems. Iron only joins with iron that is already sharpened and ready for battle. Once your frequency has stabilized in isolation, the Solomon Code requires strategic infiltration. You go to those circles to be contagioned by excellence. Just as the fool breaks you by osmosis, the wise man elevates you by quantum resonance. Infiltrating is not faking. It is frequency alignment. You must learn the language and the etiquette of sovereignty. Real power circles do not talk about people, gossip. They talk about vision, systems, and legacy. To be accepted, your tongue of fire must have burned all traces of complaint. If you enter a room with a billionaire and emit a single note of need, you will be detected as a parasite and expelled by success's antibodies. Inverse contagion is letting a vision larger than yours break your glass ceilings forever. Spending an afternoon with a man who manages $100 million alters your perception of a lot of money forever. Your subconscious updates its limits of the possible. Your filters now work in reverse, letting in the light of greatness and blocking the shadow of your former subject identity. Wisdom rubs off like incense. The trial of iron loyalty, the character filter. Iron alliances are not emotional friendships for partying. They are destiny pacts. Solomon had strategic allies like Hiram of Tyre, sharing commercial fleets and architects. These relationships lasted decades because both respected the just balance, absolute integrity. In the sovereign circle, loyalty is the only real currency. If you break your word once, if you reveal a court secret for vanity, or act dishonestly for a small gain, your name will be erased from all records of power. The blacklist of the elite is real, invisible, and eternal. The three filters are also a test for you. Are you the kind of person a sage wants by his side in a crisis? Iron loyalty is tested in crisis, not in abundance. A foolish friend flees when money runs out, or a project finds friction. An iron ally stays to rebuild the empire because his loyalty is not to your feelings, but to the shared vision. Seek partners who love the purpose of the work more than they love you. That is the only guarantee that the alliance will survive time and crisis. Solomon taught, "In the multitude of counselors there is safety." But remember, he did not speak of common citizens. He spoke of a hand-picked council of specialists. Your goal is to form your own council table, your mastermind group. This council must consist of three essential figures as extensions of your power: the mentor, the son, who has already walked the path and has the scars; the peer, the mirror, who is in the same battle with similar ambition; and the specialist, the shield, who masters a technical area like finance or high technology. Having this council allows you to stop being a lone ant and become the hive brain. Massive wealth is a team sport, but only if the team has passed through the fire of the three filters. The king does not know everything. The king knows whom to call to know everything. You have purged the human lead and magnetized social gold. Your inner circle is the sacred womb where your material reality is gestated. From today, your time is a royal privilege that only those vibrating in the frequency of command and integrity can buy. Do not apologize for your exclusivity. A diamond does not apologize for not being mixed with the gravel of the road. Your wall is up and impregnable. Your filters are active and relentless. Your solitude is productive, and your gaze is fixed, without distractions, on the table of giants where the world is shared. Do not look back at the lead cities you left burning in your past. Prepare to enter, King. Chapter 5. The Cold Spirit, Ruach Kar. You have awakened the King. You have tuned your tongue of fire so that every word is a decree of power. You have installed the ant algorithm so that your execution is relentless. You have raised the wall of the 3 filters to purge your court of the infection of fools. You have the structure, the command, and the circle. But now you face the most intimate enemy, the one that lives inside your veins and beats in your chest, your own emotional reactivity. The control system has programmed you to be a hot being. They have taught you that reacting is a sign of character, and that defending your honor through anger is for strong men. They sold you the idea that unbridled passion is the key to success. Solomon, from his throne of ivory and gold, looks at that agitation and defines it with a single word: folly. In the deep psychology of the Solomon Code, reactivity is the signature of the slave. The slave is like a dry leaf in the middle of a fire. Any external spark makes him burn. If someone insults you and you get angry, that person owns you. If economic news scares you and you panic, the system owns you. If a criticism taints your day, others' opinions own you. Chapter 5 deals with the technology of Ruach Kar, cold spirit, the ability to maintain a frigid internal temperature. Keep it even while the outside world is in flames. The fool is hot, the king is cold, money seeks calm. In the original texts of Proverbs, Solomon uses a fascinating expression to describe the man of understanding, Ruach Kar. Literally, this translates as cold spirit or fresh breath. It refers to the lack of emotional friction. Heat, in physical terms, is molecular agitation. In psychic terms, heat is the chaos of primary emotions, anger, fear, euphoria, envy, clashing with each other. When you are hot, you cannot see reality. You only see projections of your own internal disturbance. A surgeon with hands hot from panic kills the patient. A strategist with a mind hot from anger loses the war before firing the first arrow. The cold spirit is the ability to observe the storm from the eye of the hurricane. It is the absolute calm of the predator before the attack. It is the temperature of the philosopher's stone. Solomon knew that gold is a metal cold to the touch. However, it is stable before fire. For you to handle massive sums of capital, large teams of people, and great visions of the future, your nervous system must be able to process massive levels of pressure without raising its temperature. If you get hot, you melt. If you stay cold, you govern. The greatest weakness of a leader is his reactive ego. The control system uses offense as a hook to catch your attention and drain your energy. You get offended by what they say about you because they didn't give you credit, or because the world does not fit your expectations. When you get offended, you hand over your sovereignty. Solomon teaches in Proverbs 19:11, "The discretion of a man deferreth his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression." Note that Solomon does not say honor is winning the argument or taking clever revenge. He says honor is passing over. It is the act of being so big and dense that the fool's offense has no surface to land on. It is like trying to drive a nail into the ocean. The water does not resist, it simply opens, and the nail sinks into oblivion. Being unoffendable makes you uncontrollable. If nothing others say or do can alter your internal peace, you become a ghost to the control system. They cannot manipulate you with fear of rejection. Your validation emanates from the Ruach Kar. You are an enclave of order in a world of chaos. While others wear themselves out in ego fights, you continue moving the strings of your empire with the coldness of a grandmaster of chess. In the market of men, the one who talks the most is the one who is the hungriest. The fool talks to fill the silence because silence forces him to face his own emptiness. The king, on the contrary, uses silence as a suction chamber. Solomon mastered the art of strategic silence. He knew that when you ask a question and keep quiet, The other person feels an unbearable psychological pressure to fill the vacuum. In that urgency to speak, the other reveals their cards, fears, weaknesses, and true prices. Silence is the most potent information extraction tool in business history. Operating with cold spirit means you have no need to prove you know more than the other. The sovereign prefers that the other thinks he knows little while he collects data. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. Proverbs 17:28. Silence grants you an aura of mystery and authority that no verbiage can equal. In a negotiation, the one with more control over his need to speak is the one who takes the gold. There is a hidden law in economics. Money flees from chaos and gravitates toward calm. Capital is cowardly by nature. It seeks predictable, stable, and cold environments. If your life is a constant drama, if your emotions are a roller coaster, money will stay away from you. Emotional disorder attracts financial loss. When you cultivate ruach kar, you become a fit vessel for massive wealth. Money feels your lack of desperation. Desperation is hot. It is a psychic sweat that scares away opportunities. Calm, on the contrary, is magnetic. A man who can lose $1 million without his pulse altering is a man the universe trusts to handle billions. Your task as an alchemist is to lower your emotional thermostat. Stop wildly celebrating successes and stop agonizing over failures. Both are imposters. Maintain the flat line of equanimity. When the market sees it cannot shake you, it will begin to surrender to you. Wealth is not for the enthusiasts, it is for the equanimous. The protocol of royal coldness. The disconnection of the ego. To reach the cold spirit, we must perform the disconnection of the ego. Most of your emotional reactions occur because you believe things happen to you. He insulted me. They scammed me. The me is the anchor that keeps you hot. The sovereign observes reality in the third person. It is not happening to you, it is happening to the character the world sees. Ruach kar is the ability to observe your own emotions as if they were clouds passing through the sky. You can feel anger, but you are not anger. You can feel fear, but you are not fear. You are the cold observer who decides what to do with that energy. This protocol is trained in the small things. In traffic, do not shout. Observe your pulse. In the face of criticism, do not defend yourself. Listen with clinical curiosity. In the face of loss, do not look for culprits. Analyze the systemic error. Keep the cold. The world is full of hot geniuses who end in ruin due to a fit of rage or a decision made under euphoria. You have chosen the path of ruach kar. From this moment on, you assume the discipline of sovereign indifference. You will be the calmest in the room. You will be the one who listens most and reacts least. Your power will not emanate from brute force, but from your emotional invulnerability. The fool is hot and is consumed in his own fire. You are cold, and in your calm, the gold of the world will finally find its home. The vault of absolute zero, the art of non-reaction. Most men believe that emotional intelligence is about managing emotions, which implies the emotion has already exploded and now you are trying to tame it. Solomon, the architect of temples and destinies, teaches you something superior: friction prevention. The control system feeds on your resistance. When something bothers you and you fight against it, you generate heat. That heat is energy that the system extracts from you. The emotional vacuum is the technique of becoming transparent. If an arrow of insult pierces the air and finds no solid target, it simply falls to the ground. The sovereign does not stop the arrow. The sovereign is not there to receive it. Building the vault means you have unlinked your sense of self from external events. In the market, in war, or in negotiation, the vacuum is invulnerable. You cannot hurt the vacuum, you cannot threaten the vacuum, and above all, you cannot predict it. While your opponents are sweating, shouting, and struggling with their own egos, you operate from a zone of total silence. Your lack of reaction is the greatest form of psychological aggression. It unhinges the fool because it takes away the mirror where he needs to see himself reflected. Silent infiltration, the ghost in the machine of men. A king who shouts his power is an easy target. A king who operates with a cold spirit is a ghost. Silent infiltration is the ability to move through high-pressure environments, financial shark meetings, political power circles, or family crises, without anyone noticing your true intention until checkmate is inevitable. The control system looks for hot anomalies, arrogant people, desperate people, noisy people. If you enter a room with the temperature of the masses, you become invisible through mimicry, but you maintain your internal ruach kar to process data with surgical precision. Solomon said, "A man of a cool spirit is a man of understanding." Prudence here is the predator's camouflage. To infiltrate successfully, you must master the stone face. It is not a mask of hate, but a surface of absolute neutrality. You listen to the lies of others, and you do not blink. You listen to mediocre offers, and you are not offended. You listen to false flattery, and you do not inflate. By maintaining the emotional vacuum, you become a human recorder. Others, receiving no emotional feedback from you, begin to project their own insecurities and reveal information they would never give to someone who reacts. You are the vacuum that absorbs everything. Psychic judo, using the other's heat for your victory. In the combat of wills, he who heats up loses his balance. The Solomon Code uses the opponent's heat as fuel for one's own strategy. If you manage to make your opponent angry, you have won 90% of the battle. Anger clouds judgment, accelerates the pulse, and breaks long-term vision. The cold spirit allows you to perform psychic judo, absorbed provocation. When someone tries to humiliate you in public, the fool jumps to defend himself, generating heat. The sovereign remains silent, stares with clinical curiosity, and asks, "Is that all you have to say?" Your vacuum makes their aggression bounce back. The pressure of silence. In a sale or negotiation, after stating your price, enter absolute zero. Do not explain, do not justify, do not fill the air. The heat of the other's need will force them to speak first, and he who speaks first after a power silence always concedes territory. Indifference as punishment. There is nothing that hurts the fool's ego more than a lack of importance. If someone tries to sabotage you, do not attack them. Ignore them as if they were an irrelevant insect. Your frigid indifference consumes their energy more than any insult. The empire's thermostat, stability at the peak. As your empire grows, the pressure will increase. You will have more to lose, more people depending on you, and more enemies trying to find a crack in your armor. The mistake of the nouveau riche is that as their status rises, so does their temperature. They become paranoid, arrogant, or euphoric. These are forms of heat. Solomon warns, "Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall." The haughty heart is a heart hot with pride. Maintaining ruach kar in success is harder than in poverty. You must treat your great triumphs with the same coldness as your mundane tasks. If $1 million steals your sleep, you are a subject. The king sees the million as just another tool, as a gardener sees a shovel. Your task is to be the thermostat of your environment. If your team panics, you are the ice. If your family enters drama, you are the vacuum. If the market enters euphoria, you are the cold skepticism. Your value to the world is your stability. The alchemy of depersonalization. You are not the stage. The final secret of Solomon's coldness lay in his ability to detach himself from the world's drama. He observed wealth, wisdom, and power as external objects. In Ecclesiastes, Solomon says that everything is vanity, hebel, vapor. This is not a declaration of depression, but of radical freedom. If you understand that life is a vapor, you stop clinging with hot hands to things. The cold spirit is born from the understanding that nothing is permanent. This allows you to risk where others tremble, and let go where others cling. Depersonalization is your armor. When you are insulted, they insult a temporary shadow. When you lose money, you do not lose your value. You lose an exchangeable resource. By cooling your attachment, you heat up your effectiveness. The sovereign must have a quick cooling protocol for when the fire manages to penetrate the wall. Retreat to the laboratory of silence. The moment you feel the heat of anger or fear, cut off communication. A king never takes hot decisions. Disappear, turn off the noise, and recover absolute zero in solitude. Cinematic dissociation. Look at yourself as an actor in a play. What would the wisest character do? The breath of ruach. Breathe slow, exhale the heat. Remember that in 100 years this problem will be dust. The eternal perspective is the most potent coolant. You understand that your temperature dictates your destiny. Heat is for those who are consumed. Cold is for those who consummate the great work. From today, your watchword is strategic indifference. You do not care about the applause. You are not hurt by the booing. You are focused on the architecture of the empire. The fool burns into ash. The king cools into diamond. Money knows where to find you, for you are the only place of calm in a world that won't stop screaming. Chapter 6. The Just Balance. You have awakened the king. You have tuned your tongue of fire, activated the ant algorithm, raised the wall of the 3 filters, and tempered your spirit in the Ruach car. You have the engine of an empire, but now we must talk about the lubricant that prevents it from exploding, your reputation. In the world of subjects, people believe that the most valuable asset is cash, properties, or bullion stored in a vault. Solomon, the monarch who managed the global trade of his era, knew that there is an asset much denser, harder to forge, and infinitely more profitable: the good name. In Proverbs 22:1, the Solomon Code sentences, "A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold." Analyze the depth of this economic law. The richest man in history is telling you that if you had to choose between $1 million and an impeccable reputation, choose the reputation. Gold can be lost in a bad investment, a looting, or a crisis, but a good name is the gold factory that never closes. The just balance is the technology of trust, and in the economy of power, trust is the speed of money. The control system has programmed the masses to seek quick profit through shortcuts and subtle deception. They have taught you that he who doesn't cheat doesn't advance, and that being a little dishonest is part of the business game. That is the scammer's psychology, and it is the shortest path to permanent ruin. Solomon warns, "A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight." Proverbs 11:1. The false weight is promising something and delivering less. It is selling smoke. It is building a facade of success on a foundation of lies. The scammer thinks he is smart because he made a profit today by deceiving someone, but what he doesn't see is that he just burned his future credit. In the Solomon Code, integrity is not a moral precept to be a good person. It is a long-term dominant strategy. A just balance, radical honesty in every deal, generates an anomaly in the market: automatic trust. When the market knows your word is an unbreakable contract, opportunities stop looking for you and start chasing you. Reputation is the magnet that attracts the gold that fraud ends up scaring away. Today there is much talk about personal branding, but most of what you hear is cosmetic: colors, logos, and retouched photos. The king does not have a cosmetic brand. The king has a brand of substance. Your reputation is what people say about you when you are not in the room. It is the echo of your past actions projecting your future success. Imagine that your name is a coin circulating in the market. How much is that coin worth? Do people accept it without hesitation, or do they bite it to see if it is lead? Building a just balance means that each of your actions is a deposit in the bank of credibility. If you keep what you promise, your currency appreciates. If you deliver more value than you were paid for, your currency becomes a world reserve. If you act with excellence even when no one sees you, your currency becomes pure gold. A solid reputation reduces friction in business. When you are known for your just balance, you do not need to sell. You only need to notify. Investors give you their capital, partners give you their loyalty, and customers give you their money without resistance, because your name has eliminated the fear of risk. Your reputation is your invisible army. It fights your battles and closes your contracts before you even open your mouth. Solomon gives us another master key to reputation in Proverbs 22:29. "Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men." The word diligent in the original implies skill, speed, and technical excellence. It is not enough to be honest. You must be the best at what you do. The just balance requires your weight in the market to be heavy, not light. People of low condition settle for minimum effort. The king seeks mastery. When you combine integrity with excellence, you become magnetic to power. The kings of the world, large capitals, industry leaders, do not have time to deal with mediocre or uncertain people. They seek rocks on which to rest their empires. If you are that rock, you will be summoned to the highest decision-making tables. Your market value is not dictated by a boss. It is dictated by the scarcity of people who are both impeccable in their word and masterful in their craft. No one is perfect. In the journey of building an empire, you will make mistakes. A shipment will be delayed, a calculation will fail, or a product will have a defect. This is where the subject differs from the sovereign. The subject tries to hide the error, makes excuses, or blames others, the false weight. The sovereign applies the just balance of error. The king shows his face. He reports the failure before the customer detects it. He assumes the loss from his own pocket. In the short term, it seems you lose money. In the long term, you have bought something money cannot buy, unshakable loyalty. People forgive mistakes, but they do not forgive a lack of character. By using the truth as a shield, you prove that your commitment to the just balance is superior to your desire for profit. That transparency raises your reputation to legendary levels. You become the one who never fails, and if he fails, he fixes it manifold. That is the kind of man Solomon would do business with. To activate Chapter 6, you must conduct a cold audit of your current just balance. Ask yourself, is my word law? If I said I would send that email at 4 p.m., did I? Small failures are micro-perforations in your reputation tank. Do I seek the fair advantage? Are my deals of mutual benefit, or am I trying to win at the expense of another's loss? Unfair benefit is poison for tomorrow. What does my name say in the market? If you disappeared today, what would your suppliers, your customers, and your competitors say about you? The just balance is built in the small things. Do not wait to have $1 million to be upright. Be upright with the $10 you have today, and the universe will trust you. Money is energy that seeks coherence. If your just balance is constant, money will find you because you are a safe harbor for its flow. Your name is the currency you emit in your own kingdom. If your currency is gold, integrity plus excellence, you will buy the world. If your currency is lead, deception plus mediocrity, you will end up begging for attention. From this moment on, you assume the covenant of the balance. You will not allow your name to be associated with anything light, false, or mediocre. You will be the man who delivers more than he promises. You will be the exact weight in a world of fraudulent measures. Your reputation will be the magnet that attracts gold while others fight over crumbs. Your word is your throne. Guard it as your own life. Prestige engineering, the protocol of silent fame and the magnet of kings. If in the first part of this chapter we defined the just balance as the sovereign's currency, in this second stage we must learn to protect that currency from the inflation of the ego and the devaluation of commitment. Most men fail not due to lack of talent, but because of systemic incoherence. The control system has taught you that you can be one person in business and another in private, that you can be honest with clients but unfaithful to your word in small things. Solomon, the observer of human nature, knew that integrity is indivisible. There is no such thing as a half-just balance. Either the weight is exact or it is fraud. In the Solomon Code, reputation is not a mask you wear for the market. It is the emanation of your internal structure. If there is a crack in your private character, it will eventually project into your market value. The kings of the world have a special scent for detecting inconsistency. They know a man who lies in small things will betray. Silent fame is born from a coherence so absolute it becomes terrifying to the fool and magnetic to the wise. There is an abysmal difference between the fame of the subject and the prestige of the sovereign. The subject seeks noisy fame. He wants to be seen, applauded, and validated by the masses. He wastes energy on empty marketing, appearances, and shouting achievements before consolidating them. Solomon defines this as vanity and chasing the wind. The noise of desperate self-promotion smells like need, and as we learned in Chapter 5, need scares away money. Silent fame is the art of letting your results speak for you. It is operating under the radar. Instead of looking for clients, you seek the perfection of the product. Instead of chasing partners, you seek the excellence of the system. The king trusts his just balance so much that he knows the market will find him. Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips. When you do not speak of yourself, but your works are impeccable, you generate an information vacuum that others are forced to fill with legends. The silence over your own achievements creates an aura of mystery and power. People begin to wonder, who is this man who delivers a value no one else can match? That is the start of dynastic prestige. You are not a brand that shouts. You are a standard that imposes itself. In the economy of 2026, information is abundant, technology is cheap, and talent is common. The only thing truly scarce is absolute integrity. The world is full of experts who vanish when things get tough. Your just balance is your greatest competitive advantage. By being the man who always delivers, who never deceives, and who maintains the exact weight even when he could gain more by lying, you become a monopoly. You have no competition because almost no one is willing to pay the price of the discipline that Solomon demands. The kings of the world are desperate to find people they can trust. Their empires are at constant risk from betrayal and mediocrity. When they detect someone with a just balance, they stop negotiating and start investing. Your value rises not due to technical skills, but due to your density of character. A contract signed with a man of his word is worth more than 1,000 pages of legal jargon signed by a fool. You are the safe haven asset of the market. To consolidate your just balance, the universe will send you the trial of the weight. An opportunity will arise where you can gain much money by sacrificing a little of your integrity. The fool takes the money. He thinks he has won. But in the Solomon Code, he has just performed a devaluation of his name. He has told his subconscious, my integrity is worth this stack of bills. He has broken the magnet. The sovereign rejects unjust profit with the coldness of one who despises lead. He prefers to lose the deal rather than stain the balance. This sacrifice is what tempers the metal of your reputation. Those around you, employees, partners, competitors, observe this act. The news of your unshakable integrity spreads through invisible channels of power. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely. That security is not just spiritual, it is the security of knowing your name is now a global seal of guarantee. You have passed the test. You are no longer a merchant, you are an institution. When your just balance has been tested time and again, the phenomenon of automatic trust occurs. Your name precedes your presence. Solomon did not have to convince the kings of Egypt or Tyre of his solvency. The name Solomon already carried the weight of 1,000 fulfilled deals and a temple built with excellence. At this level, you attract opportunities effortlessly because the market does the work for you. People bring you their best projects. They bring you their most fertile lands and most valuable secrets, simply because they know that in your hands, they will be safe. Your reputation has created a halo effect. Everything you touch receives the blessing of your prestige. If you are involved, the project is serious. If you give your word, the investment is safe. This is the climax of Chapter 6. You have turned your character into a gravitational force. Gold is no longer something you seek. Gold is something that flows to you to be managed by your balance. You are the custodian of trust in a world of suspicions. You are the king of your own currency. You have completed the engineering of prestige. You have understood that the just balance is not for the weak who fear sin, but for the strong who dominate the market. Your reputation is your armor and your magnet. From today, every action of yours will be weighed on the balance of eternity. Your word is law. Your excellence is your standard. Your integrity is your power. You have built a good name that will outlive your flesh and open doors for your descendants for generations. Fraud scares away gold because gold has memory. The just balance attracts it. Your name is now a dynastic asset. Use it with the majesty of a king. Prestige engineering, the protocol of silent fame and the magnet of kings. If in the first part of this chapter we defined the just balance as the sovereign's currency, in this second stage we must learn to protect that currency from the inflation of the ego and the devaluation of commitment. Most men fail not due to lack of talent, but because of systemic incoherence. The control system has taught you that you can be one person in business and another in private. that you can be honest with clients but unfaithful to your word in small things. Solomon, the observer of human nature, knew that integrity is indivisible. There is no such thing as a half-just balance. Either the weight is exact or it is fraud. In the Solomon Code, reputation is not a mask you wear for the market. It is the emanation of your internal structure. If there is a crack in your private character, it will eventually project into your market value. The kings of the world have a special scent for detecting inconsistency. They know a man who lies in small things will betray. Silent fame is born from a coherence so absolute it becomes terrifying to the fool and magnetic to the wise. There is an abysmal difference between the fame of the subject and the prestige of the sovereign. The subject seeks noisy fame. He wants to be seen, applauded, and validated by the masses. He wastes energy on empty marketing, appearances, and shouting achievements before consolidating them. Solomon defines this as vanity and chasing the wind. The noise of desperate self-promotion smells like need, and as we learned in Chapter 5, need scares away money. Silent fame is the art of letting your results speak for you. It is operating under the radar. Instead of looking for clients, you seek the perfection of the product. Instead of chasing partners, you seek the excellence of the system. The king trusts his just balance so much that he knows the market will find him. Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips. When you do not speak of yourself, but your works are impeccable, you generate an information vacuum that others are forced to fill with legends. The silence over your own achievements creates an aura of mystery and power. People begin to wonder, who is this man who delivers a value no one else can match? That is the start of dynastic prestige. You are not a brand that shouts. You are a standard that imposes itself. In the economy of 2026, information is abundant, technology is cheap, and talent is common. The only thing truly scarce is absolute integrity. The world is full of experts who vanish when things get tough. Your just balance is your greatest competitive advantage. By being the man who always delivers, who never deceives, and who maintains the exact weight even when he could gain more by lying, you become a monopoly. You have no competition because almost no one is willing to pay the price of the discipline that Solomon demands. The kings of the world are desperate to find people they can trust. Their empires are at constant risk from betrayal and mediocrity. When they detect someone with a just balance, they stop negotiating and start investing. Your value rises not due to technical skills, but due to your density of character. A contract signed with a man of his word is worth more than 1,000 pages of legal jargon signed by a fool. You are the safe haven asset of the market. To consolidate your just balance, the universe will send you the trial of the weight. An opportunity will arise where you can gain much money by sacrificing a little of your integrity. The fool takes the money. He thinks he has won. But in the Solomon Code, he has just performed a devaluation of his name. He has told his subconscious, my integrity is worth this stack of bills. He has broken the magnet. The sovereign rejects unjust profit with the coldness of one who despises lead. He prefers to lose the deal rather than stain the balance. This sacrifice is what tempers the metal of your reputation. Those around you, employees, partners, competitors, observe this act. The news of your unshakable integrity spreads through invisible channels of power. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely. That security is not just spiritual, it is the security of knowing your name is now a global seal of guarantee. You have passed the test. You are no longer a merchant, you are an institution. When your just balance has been tested time and again, the phenomenon of automatic trust occurs. Your name precedes your presence. Solomon did not have to convince the kings of Egypt or Tyre of his solvency. The name Solomon already carried the weight of 1,000 fulfilled deals and a temple built with excellence. At this level, you attract opportunities effortlessly because the market does the work for you. People bring you their best projects. They bring you their most fertile lands and most valuable secrets, simply because they know that in your hands, they will be safe. Your reputation has created a halo effect. Everything you touch receives the blessing of your prestige. If you are involved, the project is serious. If you give your word, the investment is safe. This is the climax of Chapter 6. You have turned your character into a gravitational force. Gold is no longer something you seek. Gold is something that flows to you to be managed by your balance. You are the custodian of trust in a world of suspicions. You are the king of your own currency. You have completed the engineering of prestige. You have understood that the just balance is not for the weak who fear sin, but for the strong who dominate the market. Your reputation is your armor and your magnet. From today, every action of yours will be weighed on the balance of eternity. Your word is law. Your excellence is your standard. Your integrity is your power. You have built a good name that will outlive your flesh and open doors for your descendants for generations. Fraud scares away gold because gold has memory. The just balance attracts it. Your name is now a dynastic asset. Use it with the majesty of a king. Chapter 7. The Field Before the House. You have awakened the king. You have purified your tongue, activated the ant, filtered out the fools, cooled your spirit, and carved a reputation of gold. You have command and the market's trust. But now, the control system launches its most seductive and lethal attack, the temptation of premature luxury. The system has programmed the masses to live in a state of mirage. They have taught you that success is shown by buying the luxury car, the house in the exclusive area, designer clothes, and the watch that shines. They have convinced you that you must look rich before being rich. This is the shop window psychology. It is the cemetery where 99% of empires die before they are born. Solomon, the monarch who made silver as common as stones in the streets of Jerusalem due to his abundance, gives us the most powerful investment algorithm in history in Proverbs 24:27. Prepare thy work without, and make it fit for thyself in the field, and afterwards build thine house. Analyze the coldness of this decree. Solomon does not forbid the house, the luxury, or the palace. He forbids you from altering the order. He commands you to build the field, the asset that produces, before the house, the liability that consumes. The system wants you to mortgage your future to buy a present you cannot afford. The Solomon Code demands that you build a cash flow so massive that luxury is an inevitable consequence and not a desperate effort. Let your businesses buy your dreams, never your sweat. The anatomy of the field, the asset that breathes. In Solomon's financial architecture, the field represents any system that generates value. It generates value regardless of your physical presence. It is the land that bears fruit, the business that operates with the ant algorithm, the investment that yields dividends, the property that generates rent. The field is a living organism that breathes money. The error of the subject is that he uses his sweat to buy the house. He works 40 hours a week to pay a mortgage, a car loan, and a credit card. He is exchanging his life for objects that devaluate. He is enslaving the king to serve the furniture. The sovereign instead dedicates all his initial energy to acquiring fields. He doesn't buy the Mercedes, he buys the transport fleet. He doesn't buy the mansion, he buys the apartment complex. The king understands that time is finite, but assets are multipliable. Your absolute priority is to create a legion of green slaves, your capital, that work for you 24 hours a day. If your money is not having children, you are spending the lineage of your empire. First one sows, then one harvests, and only at the end, one celebrates. The house is a prison, the liability disguised as success. The control system uses the word investment to deceive you. They tell you that your own home is your greatest investment, when in reality, it is your greatest drain. A home of your own does not put money in your pocket. It takes it out every month in taxes, maintenance, and utilities. Unless that house works for you, it is a heavy jewel that prevents you from running toward true freedom. Solomon built his palace after securing trade routes, gold mines, and iron alliances. He waited 13 years to finish his house, while the temple and the work of the fields were the priority. The king is in no hurry to impress fools. The king is in a hurry to be indestructible. Buying the house before the field is like putting the roof of a cathedral on sand foundations. At the first wind of economic crisis, the roof will collapse and crush you. Building the field. First is creating a granite base. When When your fields are large enough, you can build 10 houses, and your financial structure will not even feel it. Premature luxury is the mark of the slave who wants to play at being king. Strategic austerity is the mark of the king who is securing his throne. The sowing algorithm, radical reinvestment. To possess the field, the sovereign practices radical reinvestment. During the empire-building phase, the king lives below his means. If the field produces 10 gold coins, the king does not spend 8 on celebrations. He reinvests 9 into buying another field. The system incites you to immediate consumption. You deserve it. Live in the moment. Solomon tells you, "There is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it up." Proverbs 21:20. Reinvestment is the fertilizer of the field. The difference between a one-day millionaire and a dynastic patriarch is the ability to delay gratification. Each coin you return to the asset multiplies. It is compound interest acting as gravity in your favor. If you master the impulse to look successful, you will reach a tipping point where the field's production is violent. It will be so violent, there will be no human way to spend it all. That is the moment when the house builds itself. The asset map, sovereign diversification. Solomon did not have a single field. He had vineyards, flocks, fleets, and mines. In Ecclesiastes 11:2, he gives us the key. "Give a portion to 7 and also to 8, for thou knowest not what evil shall be upon the earth." The king's financial architecture is a network of independent columns. If one trade route is blocked by war, the vineyards continue to bear fruit. If a plague affects the cattle, the gold mines keep producing. The error of the fool is to put all his hope in one source. Building the field means diversifying into disconnected assets. Flow assets, businesses, rents, dividends, your daily food. Reserve assets, gold, land, metals, your protection against collapse. Growth assets, high risk, high reward projects, your jump to the next level. The sovereign is never a victim of the global economy. His architecture is designed to withstand earthquakes in any sector. Your field is an ecosystem, not a solitary plant. The field protocol: audit your expenses. Identify your houses. What expenses do you have today that produce no money and only serve to feed your ego or comfort? Expensive cars, useless subscriptions. Identify your fields. How much money are you putting each month into systems that work for you? If the answer is nothing, you are a subject in danger of extinction. Apply Solomon's order. Stop any spending on the house until your fields cover your basic needs twice over. Saving is not for keeping. Saving is for buying the field. Stagnant money rots. Sown money multiplies. Turn your sweat into assets, and let those assets buy the rest of your life. You have understood today that wealth is not what you spend, but what you keep and multiply. Solomon's order is non-negotiable. Work outside, fields ready, and then the house. Do not reverse the algorithm, or you will be a slave in expensive clothes. From this moment on, you assume the covenant of sowing. You will not buy liabilities with your time. You will not mortgage your sovereignty for a status mirage. The field is ready. Start sowing. Retention engineering, shielding fields and the incessant flow. If in the first part of this chapter we established the sacred order of accumulation, the field as an absolute priority over the house, in this second stage we must learn retention engineering. Solomon was not just the richest man due to his ability to generate income. He understood that money has a natural tendency to evaporate. The control system has designed an invisible suction network, confiscatory taxes, programmed inflation, and the social pressure of consumption. If you build a fertile field but do not raise a legal and fiscal wall around it, you are working for the system, not for your dynasty. Solomon warned that when goods increase, those who eat them increase. It does you no good to carry grains like an ant if the barn has cracks where parasites take half the harvest every night. The sovereign does not own things in his personal name. The sovereign controls systems. Asset retention begins with the depersonalization of assets. Your fields must be under structures that survive political crises. The field is not just land, it is a financial fort. The law of incessant flow, the assets recess. Most people save to spend later. They save for vacations, cars, or retirement. That is the thought of the subject. Money is a means for temporary relief. For the possessor of the Solomon Code, saving is the recruitment of soldiers. Every coin is a worker that must be sent to the front line of compound interest to bring back prisoners, more coins. The law of incessant flow dictates that one must never kill the hen to eat the stew. The field must be in a state of perpetual reinvestment until the cash flow is so violent that the surplus pays for the house. The subject spends the capital. The middle class spends the interest. The king spends the interest of the interest. This level of strategic patience is what separates one-day rich men from thousand-year patriarchs. Solomon did not sell his mines to buy jewels. He used a fraction of the surplus. The sovereign protects capital with ferocity. The shielding of the columns. Diversification against chance. Solomon gave us the key in Ecclesiastes. Give a portion to 7 and also to 8. In this second part, we delve into the mathematics of risk. The system wants you to be a dependent specialist. Solomon requires you to be a diversified general. A robust field must be composed of columns that do not touch each other. If all your investments are in the same country, currency, or sector, you have a bet, not an empire. Elite financial architecture requires geographic columns to survive local crises and liquidity columns of gold and cash to seize the crises of others. It also requires passive flow columns, automated businesses that do not require your time as king. Shielding means that if one column falls, the roof of your house does not even vibrate. The king sleeps soundly because his wealth depends on the system's structure. Your field is a resilient ecosystem that feeds on the crises of fools. The luxury house trap. The opportunity cost. Every gold coin you put into a liability, the house, the car, the jewel, ahead of time is a coin that stops working for you forever. If you buy a luxury home for $1 million with your sweat, you have buried $1 million that, invested at 10%, would give you a lifetime cash flow. That house is costing you $100,000 a year in money you stop earning, plus maintenance. The king makes the cold calculation. Do I prefer the appearance of power today or real power forever? The sovereign builds his house with the surplus of the surplus. When your fields produce so much you don't know where to invest, that is the moment to build the palace. At that point, the house is not a burden. It is a monument to your discipline. Luxury is the dessert, not the main course. The fool eats the dessert first and ends up vomiting financial blood. The most important asset of your field is not gold or land. It is your capacity to generate value. Solomon asked for wisdom before riches because he knew wisdom is the mother of all fortunes. The system can take your properties and devalue your currency, but it cannot take what is between your ears. Your mental field requires daily maintenance. Investing in your education and alliances is the investment with the highest return. A king who loses his kingdom but keeps his code will recover his empire in half the time. A fool who inherits an empire but lacks the code will lose everything in 1 generation. The mental field is the root. Everything else is just the fruit. You are no longer a victim of consumption. You are a strategist of dynastic accumulation. From this moment on, you assume the discipline of the sovereign investor. Your priority is cash flow. Your enemy is the liability disguised as success. Your mission is to build a system so potent that luxury is a minor distraction. The field is ready, the seeds are set, and the wall is up. Let the fools buy mirages. You are building a kingdom. Chapter 8. The Vault of the Heart. You have awakened the king, disciplined your tongue, activated the ant, filtered the fools, cooled your spirit, carved your reputation, and designed your financial architecture. You have all the external tools to dominate the world. However, there is an invisible force, an autopilot that can sabotage your efforts, your subconscious. Solomon, in his metaphysical depth, gives us the most critical warning of the entire code in Proverbs 4:23. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. For the ancient Hebrew, the heart was not the organ of romantic feelings. It was the vault of the heart, the command center of the deep mind. Solomon is telling you that you can have the best ship, your businesses, and the best map, your knowledge. But if the engine of that ship is programmed to crash into the rocks, you will crash. Your life is not a product of your conscious desires, but of your subconscious programs. Change the code and you change your life. Your conscious mind is like the captain of an ocean liner. He gives orders and makes logical decisions. But the subconscious is the crew in the engine room that actually moves the pistons. The captain may shout, "Right," but if the crew has a recorded order that says, "Always left," the ship will not turn. The subconscious has no sense of humor, does not understand sarcasm, and most importantly, does not distinguish between reality and fiction. Everything you let into the vault of the heart is accepted as a design order for your physical reality. The control system knows this and saturates your senses with news of crises and lack. They have hacked your engine room so that you yourself navigate toward poverty while believing you are being realistic. The sovereign understands that his number one priority is not watching his bank account, but watching the door of his mind. If you let a thought of "I can't" settle in the vault, it will seek to validate itself. The virus of inherited scarcity, cleaning the lineage. Most of the programs that rule your life today are not yours. They are slave inheritances. You heard your parents say, "Money is dirty," or "Money doesn't grow on trees." These are not facts. They are computer viruses that limit your ability to process abundance. Solomon teaches that the king must cleanse his house of idols and falsehoods. Cleaning the vault of the heart requires a belief surgery. You must identify those phrases that echo in the back of your head when you are about to close a big deal. That voice of doubt is not yours. It is the voice of the system speaking through ancestors. The sovereign performs a mental exorcism. He takes each limiting belief and submits it to the judgment of wisdom. Is it true that money is evil? No, Solomon had gold and was wise. By dismantling the logic of the virus, you take away its power. The king honors his parents by breaking the chain and becoming the source of wealth. Solomon commands, "Keep thy heart." The word "keep" in the original is natsar, a military term meaning to guard a fortress against a siege. Your mind is under constant siege. Every advertisement, every neighbor's complaint, and every social media post is an attempt to infiltrate your vault. The king installs an iron sentinel at the door of his senses. Auditory filter. Do not listen to music that glorifies lack or betrayal. Visual filter. Do not consume images of decay or chaos. Social filter. As learned in Chapter 4. Do not let the frequency of the fool contaminate your engine room. The sentinel has a clear order. Only what is compatible with my empire enters. If an idea does not contribute to your sovereignty, peace, or wealth, it is rejected at the border. Learn to say, "That thought has no power in my kingdom." With time, the sentinel becomes automatic. Your vault becomes impregnable. The success thermostat. Setting the temperature of gold. Have you noticed that some people win money and lose it quickly, while others, even if they lose everything, become rich again in months? That is the subconscious financial thermostat. Each person has a figure engraved in their heart, the amount they feel comfortable having. If your thermostat is set to survive, your subconscious will sabotage any opportunity to win millions. You will feel fear or make stupid decisions to return to your comfort zone of scarcity. The control system wants your thermostat low. Solomon teaches us to raise the temperature through meditation on greatness. Familiarize your heart with opulence. Do not look at the price, look at the value. Visit the places where gold flows. Touch the textures of luxury. Breathe the air of sovereigns. Do not do it for vanity, but to tell your subconscious, "This is my natural habitat." Physical reality will then adjust to eliminate the dissonance. The nightly decree, sowing in the silence. The most important moment to reprogram the vault is just before sleeping. In that state of relaxation, the barrier between the conscious and subconscious weakens. The captain goes to sleep and the crew is ready to receive the order of the night. Most men make the mistake of falling asleep reviewing their problems and fears. By doing so, they are giving the manufacturing order for the next day. They are sowing thorns in their own field. The sovereign practices the nightly decree. Power gratitude. Give thanks for the day's battles, extracting wisdom from each one. Visualization of the empire. Close your eyes and inhabit the reality of your fulfilled desire. Feel the weight of the crown, the coldness of the marble, the order of your businesses. The seed phrase. Repeat a power phrase until sleep overcomes you. I am the magnet of wisdom and inexhaustible wealth. That seed will germinate during the 8 hours of sleep. Your subconscious will work while your body rests, moving invisible threads so that, upon waking, opportunities appear magically before you. You are the architect of your internal temple and the sentinel of your vault. If you guard your heart with the ferocity of a king, life will flow from it with the abundance of a river. From this moment on, you assume the covenant of mental vigilance. You will not allow the system's garbage to dirty your engine room. You will clean your viruses and sow greatness every night. Change the code and the world must bow. The Alchemist's Workshop, High-Fidelity Visualization. If in the first part of this chapter we establish the sentinel that protects the vault of the heart, in this second stage we must become the engineers of the image. Solomon did not just think about wisdom or wealth. He inhabited them in his mind with such density that physical reality had no choice but to mold itself to his vision. In the Solomon Code, imagination is not a childish fantasy. It is the alchemist's workshop, the place where the blueprints of the empire are drawn before a single stone is moved. The control system has atrophied your ability to visualize. They have surrounded you with screens so that you consume others' images and stop projecting yours. They have made you believe that seeing is believing is the law, when the sovereign's law is believing is seeing. Your subconscious is an inverted camera. It projects outward what has been sharply printed on its inside. If your internal images are blurry, full of doubt or scarcity, your life will be a landscape of shadows. High-fidelity visualization requires you to use the 5 spiritual senses. It is not enough to see a stack of bills in your mind. You must smell the scent of the paper currency, feel the rough texture of the fiber, hear the crackle of the counting, and experience the weight of the stack in your hand. The more sensory the impression. The more sensory the impression, the faster the vault of the heart will accept it as a present truth. The subconscious does not question what feels real. It executes it as an immediate manufacturing order. The law of assumption, feeling as fuel. Solomon gives us a hidden key in his writings. The secret is not in cold thought. The secret is in the Lev Shomea, a heart that hears and feels. Thought is the blueprint, but feeling is the cement. You can visualize a palace for 10 hours, but if while doing so you feel like a beggar who is pretending, your subconscious will detect the lie and cancel the process. The law of assumption dictates a critical step. It dictates that you must assume the feeling that your desire has already been fulfilled. You are not asking for wealth. You are experiencing the gratitude of being rich now. You are not desiring health. You are inhabiting the vitality of an invulnerable body in this instant. Gratitude is the highest frequency of the code. Gratitude implies that the gift has already been received. The error of the fool is to visualize from necessity. Necessity emits a signal of, "I don't have this," and the vault of the heart responds by giving you more experiences of not having. The sovereign visualizes from possession. He walks through his mental palace as the owner. The sovereign walks as the legitimate owner, not as a tourist. When the feeling of "it is already mine" becomes predominant in your heart, manifestation in the physical world is a simple matter of mathematical time. Feeling is the signature that validates the contract of the decree. The fast from physical reality. Ignore the senses. To reprogram the vault, you must practice the fast of the senses. There will be moments when your bank account says scarcity, but your decree says opulence. In that moment of friction, 99% of men surrender to physical evidence. They become realistic, and in doing so, abort their creation. Solomon knew a deeper truth. He knew that what you see with your physical eyes is only the densified past. Current reality is the corpse of your thoughts from yesterday. Therefore, reacting emotionally to an empty account is like fighting a ghost. The sovereign ignores the negative report of his senses and stands firm in the fidelity of his internal image. This is the highest level of royal discipline, being able to walk among ruins, feeling like the owner of a city of gold. It is not denial, it is hierarchy. You are deciding that your internal world is the primary cause and the external world is the secondary effect. If you stay loyal, physical reality will break and reorganize. Solomon's faith is persistence in the feeling of victory, the sacred geometry of sleep, hacking the threshold. As we learned in the first part, the threshold between wakefulness and sleep is the open window of the vault. But here we delve into the nightly loop technique. Your subconscious keeps the last emotional impression. It keeps the impression before the fading of consciousness. If you fall asleep with a 10-second image of success repeated over and over, that image becomes the directive for your soul all night long. Imagine a specific scene that implies your empire is already real, a handshake with a high-level partner or a massive deposit. Repeat that short scene, feeling it, smelling it, living it, until consciousness dissolves. By doing this, you have hijacked the autopilot. You have given an 8-hour work order to the engine room crew. Upon waking, you will not be the same. You will be magnetically aligned with the circumstances that make that scene occur. The vault of the heart is reprogrammed by intensity or by repetition. Since we live in a world that constantly tries to reprogram us for mediocrity, the king must use the repetition of I am as an active defense mantra. Every time you say I am, you are opening the vault and placing a seal of command. I am wise. I am the source of incessant wealth. I am the architect of my destiny. These are not pretty phrases. They are access codes. If you catch yourself saying, I am poor, or I am a disaster, stop immediately. You have let an intruder into the vault. Cancel the order with an opposite decree of power. The sovereign is the guard of his own label. The identity you hold most frequently is the one that will end up sitting on your physical throne. You have completed the mastery of the vault of the heart. You understand that the world is a mirror, and it is useless to try to clean the mirror without changing the face looking at it. You have learned to visualize with fire, to feel with faith, and to sleep with empire. From this moment on, you assume the command of invisible reality. Your priority is what you feel and see in the silence. If your vault is full of gold, your hands soon will be. If your heart is a king's, the throne will appear. The code is rewritten. Chapter 9, The Blood Legacy. You have awakened the king, disciplined your tongue, activated the ant, purged the fools, cooled your spirit, carved your reputation, designed your financial architecture, and reprogrammed the vault of your heart. You have everything to be rich and powerful. But if you stop here, you are simply a temporary success. If your vision ends the day you stop breathing, you are still operating under a subtle form of slave psychology, the terminal mentality. The control system has programmed the masses to live in the me, here and now. They sold you the you only live once, YOLO ideology, so you spend your capital and leave nothing behind. The system hates dynasties because a family that accumulates wisdom and wealth for generations is uncontrollable. Solomon, the monarch who inherited a kingdom and turned it into a 1,000-year legend, gives us the dynastic mandate in Proverbs 13:22. A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. Note the mathematical depth of this law. Solomon does not say leave an inheritance to your children. That is the bare minimum. He says your vision must reach your grandchildren. This requires a 100-year vision. It requires you to stop being an individual and become a founder. The blood legacy is the move toward the eternal us. The good man builds a cathedral he will never see finished. The fool eats the seed today and condemns his lineage to perpetual hunger. The control system uses immediate gratification to castrate your legacy. They tell you you deserve it, so the middle class spends its surplus on trips and cars that vanish into thin air. When they die, their children inherit memories, but not power. The sovereign understands that his life is just a link in a golden chain. Your wealth is not for personal pleasure. It is the fuel of your lineage. The fool confuses inheritance with money. If you only leave money, you have left hardware without software. Money in the hands of a child who lacks the Solomon Code is a loaded weapon. They will destroy themselves and the empire. The blood legacy demands you be an educator of kings. You must transfer the wisdom of the scrolls to your offspring with more ferocity than you use to accumulate gold. Software must always precede hardware. If your children are not worthy of the throne, money will only fund their decadence. A common family is just a group of relatives. A dynasty is a spiritual and economic corporation operating under an unbreakable code of honor. The control system has destroyed the nuclear family, so you are a solitary and weak atom. To found a dynasty, establish 3 steel columns. The family constitution, a set of written laws defining who we are. The family bank, where wealth is kept in a common fund to finance the growth of productive members. The council table, weekly meetings where you speak of strategy, investments, and history. The sovereign does not see his children as kids to entertain, but as princes in training. Infancy is the recording period of the vault of the heart. If you let the system educate your children, you have lost your legacy before dying. Your last name must be a mark of prestige that your descendants fear to stain. Solomon wrote the book of Proverbs specifically as a manual for his son, Rehoboam. He knew the throne was heavy, and that without the wisdom of the scrolls, his son would lose everything. The human drama is that Solomon accumulated so much gold that his son became soft. Opulence without training creates luxury parasites. Your inheritance must be, above all, methodological. Instead of giving them the fish, teach them the physics of the net. Instead of paying their debts, teach them the cold spirit so they do not assume them. Instead of buying them the house, teach them to buy the field. The blood legacy means your wisdom must be coded. Even if your descendants lose everything physically, they must possess the algorithm to rebuild the empire from scratch in a single decade. Gold is volatile. The code is eternal. The patriarch does not leave a stack of bills on the table. He leaves a library of principles engraved in the soul of his successors. The control system forces you to think about the end of the month. The sovereign thinks in generations. When you make a financial or personal decision, you must ask, how will this affect my great-grandchild? This 100-year vision changes your behavior immediately. You stop making deals with scammers for quick profit. If you think 100 years ahead, you care for your physical health to be a wise elder and not a burden. You invest in land and assets that appreciate for decades, not in passing fads. Long-term vision is the antidote to anxiety. Today's problems are insignificant when you are building a mountain. The blood legacy grants you a divine patience. You are not in a hurry because you are not competing with your contemporaries. You are competing with history. You are ensuring that, when your name is only an echo, your lineage continues to rule in the light. The Founder's Protocol is a cold evaluation of your descent. Identify the weak points. Are your children ants or grasshoppers? Do they have the tongue of fire? If there is weakness, it is the king's fault, not the prince's. Start training today. Create the arc of wisdom. Start writing your principles. Document your battles. Create the user manual for your last name. Establish the wall of the 3 filters for the family. Protect your heirs from foolish influences. If they hang out with fools, your empire will be broken in the next generation. Legacy is an engineering work. If you do not design your succession, chance will do it for you, and chance always favors chaos. You have understood today that your life is a bridge, not a destination. You are the founder. The steel link that decided mediocrity ends with you. Do not be the man who shines only to go out in the grave. Be the sun that lights the way for those not yet born. From this moment, you assume the covenant of the patriarch. Your money is dynastic capital. Your wisdom is family law. Your life is the foundation of a 100-year cathedral. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Your name will not be forgotten, because your lineage will be the living testimony of your reign. The future of your blood begins today. The mechanics of the dynastic trust and governing from the grave. If in the first part of this chapter we established the philosophy of the 100-year vision and the primacy of inheriting software, wisdom, before hardware, money, in this second stage we must enter the legal and structural mechanics of empire. Philosophy without structure is just poetry. In the world of kings, poetry does not protect gold from looters. Solomon, the man who led Israel to its peak of wealth and power, experienced an existential terror in his final years. In Ecclesiastes 2:18-19, the monarch confesses his greatest anguish with clinical brutality. Yea, I hated all my labor which I had taken under the sun, because I should leave it unto the man that shall be after me. And who knoweth whether he shall be a wise man or a fool? Yet shall he have rule over all my labor. Analyze the sovereign's terror. You can spend 40 years applying the tongue of fire, working with the ant algorithm, and building an indestructible cash flow, but one day your heart will stop beating. In that instant, The keys to your empire will pass into the hands of an heir who never sweated, who was never hungry, and who never had to fight lions on the path. If that heir turns out to be a fool, your half-century of work will be devoured in less than 5 years. This is the infamous third-generation curse, a brutal statistical law proven in every culture. The first generation builds the wealth, the second maintains it, and the third destroys it completely. Solomon saw it coming. His own son, Rehoboam, was an arrogant fool who nearly destroyed the kingdom in record time. The modern control system loves this curse. The state and corporatocracy celebrate when a patriarch dies, leaving his fortune loose. They know foolish heirs will return that money to the system through stupid consumption and inheritance taxes. To break this curse, the king must design a system stronger than human weakness. The legal ghost structure: own nothing, control everything. The average citizen, the subject of the system, works all his life to buy a house and put it in his name. He saves money in a bank account in his name. He believes this gives him security, when in reality, it makes him a massive glowing target on the radar of predators. If you have assets in your personal name, you are vulnerable. You are vulnerable to frivolous lawsuits, destructive divorces, and the greatest robbery of all, the inheritance tax. The dynastic elite, the clans that have held power for centuries, operate under an iron rule. Own nothing in your personal name, but control absolutely everything. This is achieved through the trust. A dynastic trust is a legal ghost, an incorporeal entity that does not age, does not get divorced, and does not die. When you found your empire, you are not the owner. The trust is. You are simply the trustee in life, and your children are conditional beneficiaries. By separating ownership from control, you raise a wall. If someone sues your son, they cannot touch the family money because it does not belong to him. It belongs to the trust. If your son goes through a divorce, the spouse cannot take half the assets because they are shielded under the patriarch's rules. When you die, there is no destructive tax transfer because the trust never died. Dead money ruling the living, the incentive trust. Solomon's fear of inheriting wealth to a fool is neutralized through the mechanics of incentives. The most destructive mistake nouveau riche parents make is leaving a lump sum inheritance to children when they turn 18. Giving millions to a young person who has not been tested by fire is an act of cruelty. You rob them of the need to discover their own power and turn them into a parasite. The Solomon Code Trust is not an ATM. It is a severe master. Through incentive trusts, the founder dictates strict rules from the grave on how capital is released. Dynasty money is used to force heirs to adopt the Ant algorithm. Your will's clauses must reward excellence and punish laziness. Matching funds. The trust doesn't give a salary for doing nothing. It matches, dollar for dollar, the income the heir earns by their own sweat. If they generate no income, the vault remains closed. Money rewards movement. Investment, not consumption. Empire funds are for expansion, not decadence. If a grandson presents a solid business plan, the trust acts as his angel investor at a low interest rate to be returned to the family. If he wants money for a sports car to impress on social media, the request is denied with a cold no. Maturity milestones. Fractions of capital are released only when the beneficiary reaches developmental milestones, graduating with honors, marrying under the dynasty's terms, or maintaining a life free of addictions. You use the weight of gold to force your descendants to develop the cold spirit, ruach kar. The Absalom problem, pruning the black sheep. Every dynasty will eventually face a black sheep, the destructive rebel or chronic fool who rejects the family constitution. The modern parental instinct is to save the weak child at all costs, exhausting family resources to rescue them from their own acts. The Solomon Code rejects this sentimental weakness. Proverbs 19:19 dictates the law of pruning. A man of great wrath shall suffer punishment, for if thou deliver him, yet thou must do it again. The patriarch must have the stomach for lineage surgery. If you fund the rebellion of the black sheep, you send a destructive message to the obedient children, the ants. The sovereign loves his children, but loves the survival of the empire more. When an heir proves to be a radioactive danger to the legacy, they must be excluded from the core of power. They are not left to starve, but their status as prince is removed. You protect the heart of the apple by cutting off the rotten part. Strategic marriage, the lineage walls. The empire is also infiltrated from the outside through blind romanticism. Modern systems teach you to marry only for love. Ignoring that marriage in high spheres is the fusion of two corporations. Solomon's final fall occurred due to external infiltration. His wives brought their own idols and cultures of chaos. The blood legacy demands teaching your princes the audit of affection. When an heir marries, they introduce a stranger into the family's vault of the heart. That stranger brings their own financial traumas and scarcity viruses. If the software is incompatible, chemical love will evaporate, leaving a financial civil war. The structural defense is the non-negotiable prenuptial agreement. In a dynasty, this is not a lack of faith, it is constitutional law. Heirs are taught that family assets do not belong to them, but to the lineage. Making the prenup a mandate of the trust eliminates friction between the couple. You have overcome the terror of Ecclesiastes. You understand now that your life is a relay race where the technique of the handoff determines if the torch burns for millennia. By separating ownership from control and establishing incentive trusts, you have defeated biological death through the survival of your will. The system can no longer expropriate you. The fool can no longer loot you. Your voice, recorded in your dynastic trust, will continue to echo in the halls of your descendants with the same force as the first day you decreed your empire. You are the ancestor of a race of kings. The dynasty has been sealed. Chapter 10. The Vanity of Smoke. You have traveled the most arduous, solitary, and dangerous path a human can undertake. You have awakened the king from his lethargy. You have forged your tongue of fire so the universe obeys your decrees. You installed the ant algorithm, annihilating the slave who asked permission to act. You raised the wall of the three filters. You purged the fools from your court and cemented iron alliances. You mastered the cold spirit, ruach kar, to operate like a surgeon in the midst of chaos. You balanced the just scale of your reputation. You structured your fields before your house, ensuring an incessant flow of wealth. You reprogrammed the vault of your heart. You left a trust and a blood legacy so that your children and your children's children rule when you are gone. You have won. You have the empire, the gold, the respect, and the dynasty. You built your cathedral and secured your own. But reaching the summit, when the battle noise ceases, a silent enemy appears, the vertigo of the void. Alexander the Great wept, looking at the vastness of his empire because there were no worlds left to conquer. The system taught you that accumulating achievements, money, and status would bring absolute peace. They lied again. Matter cannot fill the spirit, just as fire cannot quench thirst. Solomon, the great architect, faced this abyss. He had it all: 1,000 women, merchant fleets, tons of pure gold, wisdom surpassing all kings of the East, and a kingdom at peace. Yet, from the absolute peak of human power, he wrote the most staggering words in ancient history. "Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity." Chapter 10 is the final scroll. It is the antidote to the poison of success. If you apply the previous 9 chapters but ignore this one, you will become the richest prisoner in the graveyard. You will be a slave with golden shackles. Here you will learn the metaphysics of detachment and the supreme mastery of reigning over the world. To understand Solomon's final code, we must unearth the real meaning of the word vanity. Religious systems distorted this, making you believe Solomon was depressed or condemned wealth. Nothing is further from the truth. Solomon was an alchemist of reality, not a repentant monk. In the original Hebrew, the word is hebel. Its literal translation is not arrogance or uselessness. It means vapor, breath, or smoke. Analyze the physics of smoke. Smoke is real. You can see it, smell it, and it can hide the sun. But what if you try to catch smoke with your hands? What if you try to lock it in a safe? It vanishes. It escapes through your fingers. The doctrine of Hebel is the greatest metaphysical revelation. All things in this physical world, money, status, empires, applause, and physical beauty, are smoke. They are real while you interact with them, but they are impermanent, volatile, and impossible to retain forever. Human suffering comes from trying to catch smoke. When you grab your wealth with desperation, or your identity depends on your bank account, you are trying to put the ocean in a glass of water. You are fighting against the law of universal entropy. The initiated king understands life is Hebel. This understanding does not depress him, it liberates him radically. If everything is smoke, there is nothing to cling to with panic. If everything is vapor, you can let go of suffocating control and start dancing with reality. The true monarch can face the ocean, feel the breeze, and know his peace does not depend on merchant ships. He is the consciousness observing the ocean, not the sinking ship. The control system has a final security mechanism for those who escape poverty: inverse possession. The system tells you, congratulations, you won the money game. Now spend your life terrified of losing it. Inverse possession occurs when you are no longer the owner of your things. Your things are the owners of you. The poor subject does not sleep because he cannot pay his debts. The golden slave does not sleep because he is paranoid about market drops, betrayal, or taxes. Both suffer the same disease of spiritual scarcity, but the second one weeps in silk sheets. Solomon diagnosed this. The abundance of the rich will not suffer him to sleep. The cure for the rich man's insomnia is not giving away money and returning to poverty. The cure is sovereign detachment. Detachment does not mean you own nothing. It means nothing owns you. You can sit on a diamond throne and manage a global dynasty, but in your heart, you know that if fire consumed it all, you would be complete. You would not lose a gram of majesty because your crown is made of consciousness. The golden slave is defined by what he has. If you take his companies, he is a nobody. The king is defined by what he is. If you take the empire, he will build another in a decade, because he is the source, not the pond. You used metaphysical laws to precipitate matter. You used mental alchemy to transmute physical reality. But all manifestation consumes energy. If you spend your life projecting and building, your projector will burn out. Chapter 10 teaches you to return to the frequency of zero. This is the state of absolute non-need. It is the return to the spiritual center where there are no desires or empires to defend. It is the rest state of the source. Solomon realized that the human mind is an engine that destroys its creator if not turned off regularly. Your architecture must have one goal: to buy you the right to silence and to simply be. You built your empire for your own. You secured your blood. But your soul asks, who are you when you take off the crown and the reality projector stops? Finding that spiritual center is vital. When you operate from absolute zero, you become infinitely more magnetic. The one who needs the deal least is the one who dictates the terms. Solomon breaks with ascetic traditions that demand suffering to be holy. The system tells you to work until you drop to be valuable. Solomon destroys these lies with a divine decree. In Ecclesiastes 5:18, the king issues his verdict: "It is good and comely for one to eat and to drink, and to enjoy the good of all his labor." Enjoyment is not a prize. It is a divine ordinance. It is a sacred duty. Denying yourself enjoyment is a sin of ingratitude against the source that gave you the capacity to generate wealth. The sovereign cultivates the art of present enjoyment. If you eat, do not look at stock charts. Taste the food as if it were the earth's last delicacy. If you play with your children, turn off the phone. Your empire exists exclusively to make that laughter possible. If you buy luxury, do not feel guilt. Use it and enjoy it as beautiful smoke. The perfect balance of the sovereign is the ability to change dimensions at will. At 10 a.m. be the architect. At 6 p.m. be the free spirit. The final mastery of detachment is reached when you look at the only certainty: death. The subject lives terrified of death. Solomon observed that the wise man dies like the fool, and the king's body ends in the same dust as the beggar's. As he came forth of his mother's womb, naked shall he return, and shall take nothing of his labor. If you take nothing, why build an empire? The answer is the peak of spiritual alchemy. You build because creation is your soul's nature, not because you need the objects. You are a fractal of the Creator. You play the game of power to live with maximum divine intensity while the game lasts. Remembering death, memento mori, is the filter against folly. When insulted, remember both will be dust in a cosmic instant, and the offense loses weight. When you lose money, Remember, you brought nothing at birth and take nothing at death. Death is the king's counselor. It allows you to operate with a lethal, bold lightness. You entered the sanctum sanctorum of Solomonic wisdom today. You understand the control matrix is an illusion, a thick smoke. The sovereign opens his hands to receive infinite abundance and to let it flow without terror. From this moment, you assume the pact of sovereign detachment. Your peace is not conditioned by bank balances. Your happiness is not mortgaged to success, because you already fulfilled your duty. You will enjoy your labor today, breathe deep, and inhabit your body in presence. The final code has been revealed. Reign over the world, command the gold, and guide your lineage, but never for any price let the world reign over you. The final page, the initiation of fire. You have reached the last page of this codex. The journey you began was not a simple reading. It was an initiation of fire. You entered this space with a mind conditioned by a system designed to keep you docile, afraid, and perpetually exhausted. You entered with the psychology of a subject, seeking permission and operating from need. Today, you leave this text transmuted. You have drunk from the fountain of the wisest and most prosperous man of antiquity, not to worship his history, but to download his algorithm into your own neurology. You have understood that physical reality is not something that happens to you, but something that your consciousness and execution precipitate. Poverty, anxiety, and submission are curable diseases, and the Solomon Code has been the antidote. Before going out into the world of men, the sovereign seals in the vault of the heart the 10 pillars that will sustain their reign for the rest of their days. These are the 10 laws of the empire that define your new existence. 2. The summarized scroll, the 10 laws of the empire. 1. The throne of identity. You killed the internal slave. You stopped asking for crumbs and assumed that you are the source. Your self-image is the master blueprint of your reality. 2. The tongue of fire. You stopped being a reporter of your misery. Your mouth is now the contract the universe is obliged to fulfill. You are the architect of the decree. 3. The ant algorithm. You annihilated your need for supervision. You are a radical self-management machine that carries the grain in silence without waiting for orders. 4. The wall of the 3 filters. You purged the fools from your court. You accepted strategic solitude as the price to attract the elite and forge iron alliances. 5. The cold spirit, Ruach Kar. You mastered your emotional thermostat. You are unoffendable, impenetrable, and operate with the calm of a predator in a hysterical world. 6. The just balance. You made your integrity a monopoly. Your reputation for excellence and truth is now an automatic magnet for capital and power. 7. The field before the house. You rejected premature luxury and the liability that enslaves. Your energy is focused on the accumulation of systems that generate incessant flow. 8. The vault of the heart. You cleared the scarcity viruses from your deep mind. You now govern your subconscious thermostat through the feeling of the desire already fulfilled. 9. The blood legacy. You transcended the selfishness of the present. You are the founding patriarch or matriarch who ensures the transfer of wisdom and legal control for the next 100 generations. 10. The vanity of smoke. You understood the impermanence of everything. You have the world in your hands, but your spirit is free from it. You reign from zero. 3. The final warning, the sword falls. The greatest danger of knowledge is not ignoring it, but knowing it and not applying it. If you close this book and return tomorrow to complain about the weather, to waste your time with fools, to go into debt for a mirage, and to speak of yourself with pity, then this text was not an initiation. It was just entertainment for a bored slave. Solomon warned that wisdom cries out in the streets, but the simple love their simplicity and fools hate knowledge. You no longer have the right to ignorance. The veil has been torn. Every time you try to return to your old smallness, the code will burn in your conscience, reminding you that you are betraying the crown you already wear. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave, whither thou goest. Ecclesiastes 9:10. The universe is a blank canvas, waiting for you to dictate the order. Money, power, respect, and peace are out there, flowing in invisible rivers. IV, your name in history. That mind is now yours. Rise up. Shake off the dust of collective mediocrity. Walk toward the market with the cold spirit and the tongue of fire. The world will try to bend you, winter will try to freeze you, and fools will try to distract you. But you are immune. You are of a different lineage. You are the owner of the field and the architect. The book closes here, but your empire has just begun.